Hey guys! Welcome to another video. The topic of today's video is very serious. We're going to talk about depression and suicide. Unfortunately, depression isn't just an illness that weakens lives, it ends lives. In today's video, you'll understand the connection between depression and suicide, how to talk about suicide with someone, and how to recognize signs that a person might be thinking about suicide. Are depression and suicide directly linked? Yes, thoughts of death and suicide are symptoms of depression. There are cases of depression where a person doesn't think about suicide, but thinking about suicide is a strong indicator that the depression is severe. It's also estimated that over half of the people who commit suicide had depression before taking that step. So yes, you can say they're directly connected. Not every person with depression is prone to suicide. Out of the 9 symptoms of depression, you only need to have 5 to be considered a depression patient. This means that many people diagnosed with depression aren't currently thinking about death or suicide. But when can depression lead to suicide? Depression can lead to suicide when a person remains untreated for a long time and doesn't build any support network. Someone who considers suicide sees it as a way to escape from unbearable suffering. It's as if they view suicide as a last resort when nothing else has worked to alleviate their intense pain. This feeling that nothing has worked is very common in people who have tried various depression treatments and feel like they've exhausted all options. That's why the earlier depression is treated, the lower the risk of suicide. How can you tell if a person with depression might be close to suicide? There are some signs that can indicate a person is saying goodbye to the world and is on the verge of committing suicide. First, a person who's thinking about suicide often talks about it. There's a myth that people who are going to commit suicide don't talk about it, they just do it. But statistically, a person who talks about suicide is 35 times more likely to follow through than someone who doesn't. That's why it's important to listen to the people around you and watch for phrases like, "Everyone would be better off without me," "I don't matter anyway," "I should die," and other similar statements. A person determined to commit suicide may also engage in farewell gestures. They might write letters and give them to someone, or they may arrange meetings with people from their past to relive good memories and say goodbye. In the days leading up to suicide, you might notice that the constant sadness the person had has now turned into an almost peaceful numbness. In these moments, as a family member or friend, you need to ask. Sit down with the person and say, "I've noticed signs that have me worried, and it might just be in my head, but I need to talk to you. It seems to me like you might be thinking about suicide." If you're open and a trusted person, it's very likely that the person will open up to you. How can you prevent the depression from worsening? If a person's depression has reached the point where they're contemplating suicide, the best course of action to prevent the depression from worsening is to seek treatment. At times like these, it's worth talking to the family and pooling resources to support the person's treatment because, even if you're facing financial difficulties, what's at stake is the person's life. Depression can have such a profound impact that the person might not be with us anymore. To avoid that risk, it's worth going through a bit of financial hardship. In these situations, it's crucial that you supervise the person. If you believe they're on the verge of suicide, they should not be left alone. These are the necessary treatments for someone with suicidal behavior when a mental disorder has reached such a severe level that suicide is being considered. We always recommend a comprehensive treatment that includes psychotherapy with a psychologist, pharmacotherapy with a psychiatrist, and lifestyle changes as part of therapy methods. The method that has shown the most scientific evidence for suicide cases is dialectical behavioral therapy. Originally, this method was invented to treat borderline personality disorder, which is also characterized by suicidal behaviors and self-harm. However, it was discovered that dialectical behavioral therapy techniques can help anyone who is also suffering from depression crises and suicide attempts. Now, onto other psychiatric issues linked to suicide. A disorder closely tied to suicide outside of depression is bipolar mood disorder. Among people who commit suicide, there is a higher rate of individuals with bipolar disorder than those with depression. That's why it's quite common in the treatment of bipolar mood disorder to prescribe lithium-based medications, because it has been found that these medications reduce the desire to commit suicide in most cases. If you've been particularly affected as a family member of someone with depression who's contemplating suicide, Eureka Therapy can be a great option for you. In online therapy, we don't provide assistance to individuals who are currently thinking or planning suicide, as online treatment is not considered the best option for these cases. But if you want to learn how to better deal with a family member, friend, or spouse who has depression and is thinking about suicide, it can be a worthwhile investment in yourself. To learn more about Eureka Therapy treatment, just check out the link I've placed in the description and visit the website. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, goodbye.